At the closing of this event, we remember Professor Michael Burawoy. The passing of Michael was too early, unthinkable. He was killed in the evening of February 3rd, hit by a car while walking near his home in Oakland, United States. Some of us here knew him from a long time, while many of the students met him at the CIS conference in Miami last year, where he delivered a keynote speech. Others had the chance to meet Michael on a more personal level, like myself, through Dr. Catherine Muller. So I would like to take this opportunity once again to thank Catherine, who is also my supervisor, for bringing Michael and her students together. I can't look at you. I've seen tributes to Michael that say that one of his greatest gifts was bringing people together. Catherine, I think you and Michael share this gift. And thank you everyone who sent me messages for this tribute. Here is a letter to Michael, which I will now read. Dearest Michael, I will start this letter with one of my fondest recollections of you, a story about how you gifted me with happiness. Catherine invited you to meet our group, and we had lunch at Old Havana in Miami. You insisted that I share your salad, as there were few vegetarian options for me, and I picked some of your tomatoes. The peanut man, whom we saw outside the restaurant earlier, selling roasted peanuts, approached our table and said in a Spanish accent, "Eat a peanut, be happy. No peanuts, no happy people." $1 was the price of happiness. And while everyone else paid little attention to the peanut man, you dispersed $1 and a beautiful smile, along with some witty observation about that monetary transaction of happiness. Then you gifted me these peanuts. You brought me joyful moments there in Miami in every interaction since then. You made so many others happy too. So I have gathered messages from some of those people, and I will now bring them together in this letter. Dr. Susan Robertson invited you to give the keynote speech at CIS conference, bringing you to Miami last year. She says, "I first read your groundbreaking work, Manufacturing Consent, in the 1980s, and from then on, you are obligatory reading for me and to my students. The extended case, global ethnography, public sociology, the list goes on. And if your words on the page were insightful, with your concerns for lives, living, and social justice at CIS 2024 Miami, where you delivered the keynote, you overwhelmed us all with your generosity of ideas, spirit, and engagement with young scholars. Your loss is so great that it is hard to describe, but you have also given us so much, and it is this legacy that we will take forward. Thank you." Just before CIS conference in Miami, many of us attending the conference dedicated to the theme, The Power of Protest, saw you talking to the crowds in a street protest in solidarity with Florida educators and unions fighting against censorship in classrooms and for the freedom to teach, as well as against the exclusion of sociology from the university's general education requirements in that state. In your speech, you asked the rhetorical question, why the hell do they care about sociology? I recorded that speech, and from that recording, I show it to my children. They learned the word sociology from you. So many of us learned sociology from you. Here's a message from Dr. Alex Wood. "Michael, I am so indebted to you for all the encouragement, ideas, feedback, and time you provided me with over the past 13 years. Your kindness, creativity, and passion embody the very best of what it means to be a sociologist. Thank you." You always said that sociology is about situating people's lived experiences within their wider contexts, about how individual experiences are shaped by larger forces. You had faith in humanity. You said sociology is an anti-utopian project. Not everything is possible. There are real limits to what is possible. And we are looking for the possibilities within those limits if you want to change the world in which we live. I think you will be proud of seeing what we're doing here in this transnational anti-racist student-led conference, bringing about and contextualizing our lived experiences and our research, exploring alternative, doable realities. Where there is a will, there is a way. I listened to some of your recorded lectures at Berkeley. You called every student by their name. You remember everyone by their names. You remember every story. You wanted to hear every story. You read our writings. You made us feel special. You cared about the people. You went everywhere. The world was your field. Your humility was endless. You saw Nara Paixão Sacramento twice in Cambridge. She is a Brazilian visiting student, and you remember her. She says, "What can I say about you, Michael? You are a young man at heart, full of joy and charisma. I was fortunate to share a few but meaningful moments with you. You had the rare gift of truly listening, a quality that made you all the more special and valuable. I remember sharing details about my life and where I lived, and when we saw each other for the last time, you remembered every word. I don't believe it was a coincidence to cross paths with someone like you. It was truly a pleasure, Michael, to have your company here on Earth. Until we meet again." You are the embodiment of public sociology. You walked the talk. You never lost the common touch. You spoke to all as equals. Here's what Connor Middleton, PhD, candidate at the Faculty of Education, has to say about your encounters in Miami and in Cambridge. "Thank you so much for being so generous with us, generous with your time, your intellect, your advocacy, and your care. Even in a few short interactions, it was overwhelmingly clear how deeply you were committed to bettering the world around you. I will always aspire to be like Michael, not just in scholarship, but in the consistent generosity and care he shared with those he met." Rocio Fernandez Ugalde was a PhD candidate at the Faculty of Education last year. She also met you in Miami. Together with Maffer and Bruna, we presented a panel at the conference. You came to see our talks. I remember you sitting at the back of the room. She says, "Dear Michael, having briefly crossed paths with you, taught me that academia can and should be a place of endless curiosity and committed work. I am forever grateful for the generosity with which you engaged with my work and made it as important as any. Thank you for your immense humanity." At the end of last year, Catherine invited you to give us a talk about W.E.B. Du Bois as part of the Abdias Nascimento anti-racist education program in Cambridge. Catherine told us you asked to speak about the question of Palestine instead, which you did. You were always on the front line when others were not, and when many simply could not and were counting on you. I told you just before the talk how, to me, it was very symbolic to have this talk at 11 a.m. on Armistice Day, as we were about to think together about the manufacture of animosities, the genocide of the Palestinian people, and to reflect on the human experience of war, the pity of war. And you also responded to our initial request, cheekily and cleverly bringing W.E.B. Du Bois to us at Cambridge at the very end of your talk. Catherine knew you long before us, and I am so grateful that she created opportunities that brought us together, either at our lunch in Miami or at her place in Cambridge in January this year. She brought you back to Cambridge for the first time since you graduated. Here is Catherine's words to you. "Dearest Michael, thank you for returning to the Cambridge University after over 50 years. You may have never imagined yourself returning, but Cambridge needed your light. You have moved us individually and collectively with your unique gift of seeing people and engaging with them as equal intellectuals. Your boundless curiosity, your incisive intellectual critique, your steadfast ethics, the boldness of your political commitments. We carry your light with us. You also told me you never dreamt of returning to Cambridge after all this time. I was lucky to witness you revisiting Cambridge and having happier moments here. It was lovely to see your nephew coming to see you in Cambridge. I feel sorry for your family having to go through this sudden and unimaginable tragedy. And here is when I arrive at the end of this letter. I choose to write you a letter because we stay in touch with the people we love. Sorry. Because you are among us, because you will always be among us, as we carry forward in our lives the beautiful memories and imaginations of a better world that we shared and we continue to share. Love, Anna, and our transnational Cambridge family. One minute, please. One minute, please.